founder of the law office of Lyda Tyburec, is a licensed immigration attorney in New York City and Colombia, with over 20 years of combined experience as a lawyer in both countries. She created her law firm following her passion to represent individuals with relocation legal services. She helps individuals who want to relocate to Colombia with real estate purchases, business incorporation, visas, opening bank accounts, leases, and all types of contracts. Ms. Tyburec has also earned years of experience representing individuals on immigration matters, including business visas, family petitions, and U visas. She is fluent in Spanish and English. You can reach her by email at lydatyburec.com or by phone at 1-347-446-4704.
Well, again, welcome, Lyda, and I'm going to correct the pronunciation on your name. Hope me if I get it right this time. It's Tyburec. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes,
Great, good, good. So, we've known each other for some time. You've helped me with my visa application when I uh, decided I wanted to retire in Colombia, and it was very successful. And actually, I'm in Colombia now. So, first, I want to thank you for getting me here, supporting me in getting here. And I think the a good place for us to start tonight is that I just attended a conference. It was a relocation conference a couple of days ago. It was online, a virtual online event, and there were a lot of people on that call who were interested in achieving what I've achieved and what you've helped many others achieve. And there were a number of people who represented their services during that call also. So first, I think a good thing to start with is for you to tell us about why you're special in this regard, and what you can do for people who are wanting to make this move that other people cannot do.
Bueno, thank you, Dr. Leslie, for your invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm very honored and thankful for your invitation and for this amazing presentation or introduction that you did about my practice in Colombia. And so basically what my practice focuses is I have over 20 years of experience combined between the New York and Colombia, and I specialize in relocation for foreigners who want to live in Colombia and move back to Colombia. I help them with everything to integrate themselves successfully into the Colombian society, starting with the type of visa that is better for them. Also, if they want to create businesses, I can help them with that, buying properties, opening bank accounts. And this is what I specialize in. This is my passion, and I have been doing this for over 20 years. And also in New York City, I also specialize in immigration law for people or individuals who want to immigrate to the US. I'm a specialist in that as well.
Well, so you have a wide range of offerings for people who need your help. You mentioned at the very beginning that you help people from the U.S. who also want to move back to Colombia. So I assume that part of your business is Colombians who have spent some time in the U.S. and are looking to return, or what do you do there?
With Colombians who want to return to the US? Or sorry.
No, I thought I heard you say you also help Colombians who are in the U.S. and want to move to back to Colombia.
Yes, yes. No, 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 no. What I'm saying is I help Colombians who want to relocate, who want to move to the US, or foreigners who want to move to Colombia.
Ah, okay, I got it now. Very good. So, if you could also take us back a little bit. I mean, you said that this business is your passion.
Yes.
So, what makes you passionate about this, and what got you, doing what you're doing today? I mean, lawyers can do a number of things with their law degrees, but you've chosen this. So, tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be uh, in this business that you are of relocation.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. But I love human rights and immigration law. That's kind of my passion, and I love to help people from different cultures And I know I was an immigrant myself. I lived in New York for 20 years. And I know how hard it is to be an immigrant, how hard it is to understand a new culture, understand a new legal system, new language, way to speak, way to communicate. And I know that is important. And that's why I love to help people, because I was an immigrant myself and I know how difficult it is. So my passion is to help individuals to do the best they can do and understand the system and make the transition from one country to another in the best way possible.
Mhm. And in your course of doing this, Lydia, Lyda, what are some of the challenges that you've faced, not you've faced in particular of yourself, but what are some of the challenges that one can face when one is trying to do this that you help people resolve?
Yes, I think the main challenge is to understand a new legal system. And in Colombia, for example, the legal system is very demanding as to documentation that you are required to provide for each type of visa, for each type of business that you want to create. You need to be very patient here with this type of processes, because it could take longer if you don't know what you're doing, if you don't find the proper advice and you don't follow the steps the way they should be. It's very challenging to obtain results. So that's why it's so important to hire somebody that is competent in what they do, to overcome those challenges of getting into a system that you don't know, because it's new, because of the language, because of the way things work. So that's the main challenge here in Colombia when we speak about visas: understanding the culture and understanding that there is a process, and that process sometimes requires a lot of documents, and that you need to follow the process, and it's a process that is there for some reason. So that's the challenge, to follow those steps and understand that the process has to be followed to be able to achieve the results that you need.
And could you give us a particular case that you faced that was particularly challenging and what it is that you were able to do that perhaps another lawyer or another consulting firm on immigration perhaps would have been less skilled at resolving? Looking into the work that you've done over the years, what's something that you were able to find a solution for that others were not able to?
Well, every day we face different challenges as an immigration attorney, a real estate attorney, or corporate attorney in Colombia. And one of the main things that happen here in Colombia is, for example, opening a bank account. The banks in Colombia require different documentation. Some of them require some things, some of them require different things. Some of them change the regulations suddenly, and then you have to go and investigate and try to be resourceful with the documents that you need to be able to find a solution for your client. So that's kind of one of the main things that we are dealing with right now: the changes in opening bank accounts for foreigners in Colombia, or dealing with the tax authorities, because sometimes you need some documents and they need to be translated, they need to be apostilled. So sometimes, oh yeah, the consulates, for example, overseas Colombian consulates, when you need to notarize, each consulate have different procedures for making an appointment. At this moment, for example, I'm dealing with a client that lives in San Francisco or California area, and the Colombian consulate in San Francisco only opens appointments on Mondays at 8 o'clock a.m. And if you don't call or get in line at 8 o'clock, you will have to wait until next week to get an appointment. And it's very, very, very difficult sometimes to do things working with the Colombian government. So you have to find solutions on how to navigate the system to be able to achieve the results that you want in a certain time, so that your clients' cases not jeopardized by all the delays in the government, in the system in Colombia. So in this case, I found a company that can do rush services for apostille documents, so in California, and we're gonna do that so that we can achieve the result that my client wants, which is to get some property here in Colombia quickly, so that he can use his visa and move and relocate to Colombia successfully. So that's an example of how you have to do it.
Yeah. So, one of the things that when one is in this process that has actually happened to me, now that you mentioned banking as one of your examples,
Yes.
I've been to banks that told me no, we can't help you. I've been to other banks that told me no, you've passed a certain deadline for getting this. And then because of what you've said just now, I realized that probably each bank has its own policy. And so
Yes.
that I don't need to be discouraged because one bank says no and think that, oh, there's no solution to this problem. It's just that
Eh,
I need to go elsewhere, or I need to know which bank to go to, right? And so that's
exactly.
where someone with your expertise would come in. So I want to go along this a little further, because one of the things that I've learned in life is that really have to do a lot of due diligence to find someone that not only that you can trust, but that has the knowledge to navigate the system that you want to navigate. In this case, the immigration process. What is your advice for people who are, and there are a lot of people who or offer these services, but for the layperson or for the client, the user, we have no way of knowing who's going to be effective for us and cost effective for us. So, what is a way in which someone who is looking into this can say, oh, I think I should go with Lyda and I shouldn't go with Garcia, or I should go uh, Pena, but I shouldn't go with Leslie. So, how did you know when you're as a lawyer? How do you tell people how they should navigate selecting the person they're going to use for their relocation service?
Okay, yeah, it's very important to experience to talk to this lawyer and make sure that the person that you're talking to is a lawyer, because there are some people in Colombia who are doing this type of work and they are no lawyers. So that's one thing. Second is interview the person and make sure that the person has the experience to do this type of cases. Because if you don't have the experience, the lawyer could make mistakes, and those mistakes could be costly, could be ending up in penalties or denial of visas or delays in the process, which are not justified. For example, I just had a client who came to me for a consultation that he had hired a different lawyer. And this different lawyer was probably no experience and submitted a visa petition for a retiree visa with no evidence at all. So this lawyer was like, but I asked this client was like, I asked this lawyer, what did I need to submit with the petition? And she said, no, 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 nothing, don't worry. And then 2 weeks later, they got a request for evidence. So that makes that the client is now in Colombia. He cannot get the documents that he needed to do, like for example, the FBI report that is necessary, and he has to go back to the US, and that is costly, spend more in time and in money. So those are the things that if a lawyer is not experienced, it will cause a lot of problems in the particular case for a client. So that's the most important thing. Find that the person has the experience to do this type of cases and don't go with somebody who is not experienced at all.
Excellent. So I want to go back to something I asked you earlier, and I probably should have stayed with that a little longer, but here we are. So I wanted to get to know you, Lydia. Um, you I know you're passionate about this, an immigrant yourself, but tell us something about your trajectory. So, coming to be what you do today, what was the process for you? Because I think for a lot of people, we kind of bond with people when we really know them a little more than just as a professional. So, would you mind telling us about your trajectory?
Yes, of course. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm originally from Bogota. I live in Bogota for, I'm not going to say how long because I don't want to say my age, but for a long time. And I practice law in Bogota, Colombia, as a lawyer for a corporate, a bank, Bank Colombia. And then I decided I wanted to move to the US. And I moved to New York City, where I became a lawyer as well. I did a LLM in one of the universities in New York, Cardozo Law School. And after the LLM, I was able to sit down for the bar exam in New York City, and I passed it. And I practiced law for almost more than 15 years in New York. I did different things in New York City. I was a judge for a tribunal in New York called Oath, and it was a small administrative tribunal where I practiced law as a judge. I was a judge there. I did also a lot of defense, landlord and tenant work for a nonprofit. I always like helping people more than corporations, so I did that as well. And then I opened my own practice doing immigration law in New York City, and I still have that practice, and I do that as well, combined with the Colombian law that I am doing right now. And I'm between New York law and Colombian law. And that's kind of my trajectory here. And I am between, I opened my law firm in Cartagena, Colombia, 5 years ago. And I specialize, as I mentioned before, in Colombia on foreigners who want to relocate to in Colombia, and combined with the law firm I have in New York, where I practice law for immigration law. If somebody for foreigners who want to move into the U.S., and that's my
Great.
background.
So thank you. So that gives me an access to something else. So what was it that you motivated you, I would say? You said I decided I wanted to move to New York. So what was that about? What had you say, oh, I'm going to go? Some people go to China, other people go to Africa. You chose New York. Tell us about that.
All right, I was working for Bancolombia here in Colombia, and I have interesting experience because I wanted to learn English. I learned English as a second language when I was an adult. So I was studying English here in Colombia, and then I said, okay, the only way I can learn English is if I move to a country where only speak English. And I always wanted to travel, and I love New York City. I love big city, and it's also very close to Colombia. It's not that far. It's 4 hours and a half, and I love the big city. I love that it's also very Latin and it's very international. And the reason that I moved there it was because it was a big city, and I originally moved to learn English. But when I arrived to New York, I said, "Wow, I like it." And in Colombia at that time, I was as a lawyer for this bank. Unfortunately, there was a lot of discrimination against women at that time, and I was like, to get a bigger position at the bank. I don't think my boss told me basically, why don't you get married? Why do you want to find a better position? Just find a husband. So when I heard that, I said, okay, I have no future here in Colombia. I'm gonna move to the US and start a new life there. And that's why I decided to move to New York. And it was an amazing process. It was not an easy one, learning the new language and going to law school and working start finding a job in a different environment. So that's why I relate a lot to immigrants, and because I was one myself, so I know how hard it is, but also I know how rewarding it is to be an immigrant and start a new life somewhere else.
This part about being successful at this, I'd like to speak with you a bit about that. I'm also, my father immigrated to the U.S. from Cuba,
I
and
heard that. Yeah.
his parents immigrated to Cuba from Jamaica.
Wow.
So this is and I'm now immigrating to Colombia. So there's a process here, and I'd like you to share with us from your experience with this. You mentioned that this is not easy. What is it? Are some of the things that you had to overcome, and more importantly, or equally as important, what tools did you use so that your overcoming was successful?
All right. The main problem or the main challenge is to speak a different language, to communicate in a different language. Is not that easy, especially when you are a lawyer. The way you write, the way you speak, the way you think is very different in the US and in Colombia. The legal system is different. Everything is different. So that's one of the main challenges I face. But when I moved to New York, I just integrated in the society. I decided I'm not going to speak Spanish anymore. I was only listening to English, everything, reading English all the time. I went to school just to learn English full time. It was an immersion, total immersion into the language. So that helped me a lot. It took me like a long time. I remember my first job I had as when I finished law school, I was working for a discrimination law firm in Manhattan. And my boss, the owner or the partner of the law firm, said to me, write a demand letter, and he gave me the instructions, and I wrote this letter, and I was like, oh my god. He said, okay, no, this is terrible. I'm not gonna correct your grammar. You need to learn how to do this better. So I had to do it by myself and practice and practice, and it was like, and you get better and better when you want something and you really focus on these things. It's possible, but it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it is possible. So that I will say that's my main challenge. Also appearing in front of a judge, arguing cases in English. That's also wow. The first time I did that, I was so stressed. But I practice, and I was able to do it. And with the time, you get better and better. And yeah, I think that would be the language and the cultural also, because it's like it's not just the language, it's the way that you think, the way you speak, the way you think. Everything is like the whole mind. I don't know. I guess you as an immigrant, you can relate to it. When you are here in Colombia, you probably understand that people think differently, speak different. The way you say things are not it's not the same as you do it in the US. So everything is different, and that's the challenge. But it's challenging, but it's also very rewarding to be able to overcome and integrate into society with these differences.
Okay, so you mentioned the language being the principal part, and the cultural piece. I would like you to perhaps share a particular about that with us. So there, what give us an example if you can. I know
Hmm.
for some of it all at some point it all blends together, especially once you're
Yeah.
in it for a while and you've adapted. It's like, well, I don't know exactly what it is that made it possible, but I understand the language piece of it. I mean, in fact, I know there are a lot of my compatriots who I've met here who have not, for one reason or another. Perhaps one is because it takes effort, the other is because maybe they don't think it's important to actually learn Spanish, right? And to be able to communicate with people other than other English speakers, or to have someone translate for them whenever they need something. So but I wanted to know, what is it about the cultural piece that you found challenging as when you moved from Colombia to New York?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say challenging, but I would say interesting is that, for example, New York, there are different people with different faiths, different religions, different way they dress. It's like the way they communicate, the way they talk, the way they eat. Is I don't know. I cannot think of any particular example. The eye contact, the way you talk. It's like you have to really be like careful. Like in New York City, sometimes if you look at someone in the eye and you don't know this person, they can get back to you upset. Like, why are you looking at me? They could be like, and so you have to be like really, really careful on how to behave in certain situations. That this awareness of cultural differences that you don't have it here in Colombia. You have it a little bit in Colombia because in Colombia also we are very different. People from the coast are very different from people from Bogota, but we are all Colombians. But in New York, it's like there are people with different religions, people with different from different countries. So is that a cultural awareness that you have to be careful with, and it's challenging. But on the other hand, when you are there, there is like a lot of resources that you can learn and study how to act in these different environments. Also things that you cannot say, that sometimes here it's okay to mention somebody or refer to someone one by the color of the skin. In the US you cannot do that. It's all by the religion, and so you have to be very careful, and you have to be very social, so how do you say, conscious of what you said, because you could offend people by just things that you could say. So that's very challenging, and that's what I'm referring to.
Those are very good examples, and thank you for sharing those. I was thinking also here about my own experience with time. My expectation was to that things would take probably with American time. I mean, that might be a way of talking about it. Although we have regionalisms, in the South, probably things are a little slower than they are in New York or California, right? Um, but that's been a challenge for me, just the time that it takes to get something done, or even for example, in particular, I'm distressed, if you would, by how long it takes to do things that involve money, right? And in a bank, you were thinking, I'm thrown to think that, oh, well, this is money and this is a financial operation, and I've got money and you want to have it, and so whatever we're going to do, it should be, push button, so to speak. And no, and I found that there's a lot of conversations that often need to take place before even monetary transactions can be made. So I get a sense of the kinds of things that you're talking about, perhaps have been different for you there. And thank you for including the idea that the U.S. is probably much more of a multicultural
Yes,
society than
yes,
Colombia is. And so
it is.
you really have to be on your toes, or skilled, or careful about what you say, how you say it, who you say it to. And yeah, so that's very good. Thank you for that. So now I've noticed your last name. You're Colombian, and Tyburek is not my usual association with Colombian names. So I wanted to know how you acquired that name, and then I'll ask you some things about how it impacts your life. So go ahead.
This is my married name, and my maiden name is Escobar. And one of the reasons I don't hold this last name anymore is because really, when you are outside Colombia,
Mm,
Escobar, everybody's, oh, Pablo Escobar. Things are now a little bit different. People are
mhm,
more aware that Escobar is not like everybody that last name is Escobar is related to Pablo Escobar. But one of the reasons I still wear this Tyburec is because this Escobar
mhm.
name that is my maiden name, but yeah, it's relate. Everybody relates me to Escobar, Pablo Escobar. When you go overseas, so I don't really like
Yeah,
that too much, so I
yeah.
keep the Tyburek.
No, I understand. And by the way, you're not alone. So many people who come to the U.S. change their names, right?
Yes,
It just makes it easier to live in the U.S. if you don't have to overcome your name, as you move through society. Also, I had an experience with this lead. Also, well, I lived in Mexico for 7 years, and my last name is Leslie, right? So,
hmm,
and I had to, and even though my father's from Cuba, right? Leslie and Cuba and Mexico, it was it made things very complicated. I went from using my first name, which was Michael, to a name that my father had given me when I was very young, which was Rolando. Rolando. And so I used Rolando all the time that I was in Mexico. It just made everything easier than saying Michael
right,
or Leslie or any of that stuff. So there's a lot in the name, right? And how people relate to you. Okay,
exactly.
so let's go a little deeper. And again, this you're in the alchemy of success. In the alchemy of success, we're interested in people, but we're also interested in giving you some insight into those people and how they came to be where they are internationally. So, I went to play again for my producer. I'm going to ask my producer to play again the introduction. We're speaking to Lyda Tyburek, and so I want you to know who she is if you've joined our program just recently.
Lyda Tyburek, the founder of the law office of Lyda Tyburek, is a licensed immigration attorney in New York City and Colombia, with over 20 years of combined experience as a lawyer in both countries. She created her law firm following her passion to represent individuals with relocation legal services. She helps individuals who want to relocate to Colombia with real estate purchases, business incorporation, visas, opening bank accounts, leases, and all types of contracts. Mr. Burek has also earned years of experience representing individuals on immigration matters, including business visas, family petitions, and U visas. She is fluent in Spanish and English. You can reach her by email at lydachuburek.com or by phone at 1 347 446 4704.
Good. All right. So let's segue now, Lisa, to the intercultural part of your experience. So your spouse is not Colombian, I take it. So I've been in my work, I and part of it's been intercultural communication, right? So I wonder if you could talk to us about what the challenges are in being married or in a relationship, to someone who's from another culture, what are some of the points that uh, can be challenging? And secondly, what are some of the ways that you bridge those challenges?
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. It's the same as everywhere. Communication is the most difficult part of being with someone who is from a different background or different country. So you have to be really, really good at finding ways of communicating, because I find that again it's different how you express your feelings in a different countries, like the way you think. It's the same, the way you celebrate things, the way you behave, the way you do things is so different. So you have to be really try to be open-minded and learn from the other and try to absorb and try to feel like also very conscious about differences. Yes,
Well, no, I got that part. I mean, we both know that. But what's of interest and would be of interest to those who are listening is I want you to take a look and think about some particular incident in which the communication issue arose, and that you realized, or either then or later, that what that was all about, if you would. So let me give you an idea. So I don't want to make it mysterious what I'm talking about. So, I, in one of my experiences over time has been the difference between at least the amount of influence that a family has in relationships here in Latin America. I've lived in various countries here, and the family influence in the United States. So I'm not even taking for granted that your spouse is American, but so there was a lot of input into our decision making process from family, even indirectly. It was like my spouse had to make a consultation with her family before we were able to come to an agreement about something, which I found quite and sometimes quite distressing, to be honest. The other, so that's one example. This kind of the importance of family, and personally beyond the nuclear family. It's not just two individuals. That's one example. Maybe you can speak to something in your experience that you saw that the intercultural aspect had a influence, a greater influence that you would have expected, or a lesser influence. So go ahead.
Well, I'm not gonna talk about myself because it's too personal, but I can tell you as a lawyer, I have an example. For example, um, if you the Colombians, what you just described, we are very much into family together and extended family. So your family in Colombia is not just your close family, like the Americans is the parents and the children, Europeans as well. Over here is the parents, the uncles, the wife of the political family as well. So it's big extended family. So for that celebration, it's like you have to invite the whole family. And for example, is one that I found interesting is that recently here in Colombia, I was helping some clients to find in a home, an apartment, and he's English and she's Colombian. So when they came to show look for the apartment they're looking for. So they brought the mother-in-law, the brother, and this is like, they were all thinking and talking. I was like, wow, this in European culture or American culture that will never be possible. It's like your wife and husband. They will not bring the extended family to situations like that. So those are some things that, as an international couple, you have to be kind of aware of and relax about it if you want to be in a successful relationship. I guess communication and also open-minded is important so that you are successful in this type of relationships,
Mhm.
because yeah, it's very different.
Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you. And I wanted to ask you also, in your work now, we're going back, circling back to where we started our interview. So offer a number of services, and one of them has to do with having people, as I understood it, having people be able to successfully do the transition, that it goes beyond the legal aspect of this. So maybe you can talk to us about some of the other kinds of supports that people need and that you can help provide them with, that will make their transition successful.
But my law firm focuses on legal assistance or legal representation. So basically, I am focused on, somebody wants to get a visa to come to to Colombia, opening a bank account, renting an apartment, creating a company, buying a boat, buying a car. That's basically what I do. My focus on my law firm is only the legal part of it.
Well, no, I understood that, but because of your expertise, if you would, you're also aware of some of the other challenges that people face. So I'm wondering, as they're making this transition, and I wondered if you provide them with perhaps some referral, some kind of assistance in terms of who you are personally, since you've been through the immigration experience. What are some of the other areas that you can assist people with, or at least direct people with, so that they have this, so that it turns out the way they want it to?
Okay, oh no, now I understand. Yes, yes. For example, I can help somebody if they ask me what kind of insurance is good in Colombia. Do I get prepagada, which is the private insurance? Do I go to the EPS only? And I can give referrals for that. Doctors referrals, cities where you can live. I'm open to give advice to people, and realtors, because I'm not a realtor. I can refer to the realtors that I believe are trustworthy here in Cartagena, because there are so many of them that maybe it's not, not all of them are that good. So I can do that as well without any interest, because I don't get any commission or anything like that. I will be able to assist people with that.
Yeah. And that's what I wanted people to know, that you're not working with you. You're not only working with someone that can help them with the legal aspect, but someone who will help them to actually do this. My experience is that things usually take more than just getting life solved in one area when you're doing this process, that you need someone who can coach you through some of the intercultural snags that you might run into, that can tell you about perhaps even what you could do to acquire the language. I mean, that's not a small thing to be
Right.
able to get the language right. And sometimes people go to people who can't help them beyond a very limited scope of assistance. And so that's why I'm asking you about, what other support or supports can you provide to people, so once they, if they engage you as someone, as a legal counsel,
Right.
then what else you have to offer towards them. That was the purpose of my question. Yes. Good. So I think we know something about you. We know something about how you got to be doing what you are. We know something about the services that you offer. Would you like to tell people again how they can get in touch with you, and and perhaps uh, why they should want to come to work with you than with someone else.
Okay, yes, thank you again. My phone number is mentioned before, but I can give it to you and all of the audience. And I have an American number, which is 347-446-4704. 347-446-4704. That would be my preferred way of contact. And because I'm in Colombia right now, the best way to do it, to reach me, is by WhatsApp on this number. And also my email is Lyda, Lyda, dot Tyburec, Tyburec, law, like lawyer, .com. Lyda dot Tyburec law.com. Um, what else? You asked me, what was the other question you asked me?
The last part of the question was, why is it that one should want to work with you,
Mm,
given that there's, well, I mean, people have choice, right?
sure.
So tell us what it is that you bring to the table that they're not going to get anywhere else.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I have experience in Colombia and the US as a lawyer. I'm aware of the importance of dealing with these relocation clients, how important it is to be conscious and be, yeah, like the cultural differences. I know how important it is. I really find my clients, I fight for them. I like to work fast because I'm not like the regular Colombian lawyers. I have a very good ethical standards, and I work in a fast paced environment. I like to produce results for my clients. I find solutions for their cases. I find the best alternative for their visas. I try to find the best way to represent them with all what I do in ethical and how can I say that, in productive manner, time wise, and um, yeah, and I achieve results for my clients. That would be my difference, I guess, and the experience I have not only in Colombia but in the US. I think that's very important.
So thank you very much. We've been talking to Lyda Tyburec. She is an experienced legal counsel for people who are seeking to immigrate to Colombia, for people who are in Colombia who are seeking to do business in the United States. She can also help you set up a business, get the proper legal documents so you can successful either investing, setting up a business, being a pensioner, retired person here. And it's been really delightful to speak with you, Lyda. I'm glad you were able to join us this evening on the Alchemy of Success, and we look forward to working with you in the future. This is Dr. Michael Leslie, your host, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you for watching the Alchemy of Success podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week.